My name is Emma, and I used to be an incredibly exuberant and joyful young woman. I truly believed I possessed all the necessary elements for a completely fulfilling and flawless life, viewing my world as an impenetrable fortress of happiness, love, and stability. But life has a cruel way of shattering our most comforting illusions. One pivotal night turned everything I held true upside down, and my world was transformed in the blink of an eye. To fully understand how my reality shattered, you need to know about my father, Michael. He has always been a remarkably prosperous and affluent figure. Following the devastating and tragic loss of my mother when I was very young, he became my entire world. Instead of remarrying, he poured every single ounce of his affection, energy, and relentless focus into raising me as a single father. We lived a fast-paced, exciting life in the heart of New York City, a vibrant metropolis where I frequently felt like I was living in a beautiful dream. My father's diligent effort and immense success allowed him to acquire numerous opulent properties throughout the city. His immense wealth naturally placed him in an elite social circle filled with legislators, powerful CEOs, and globally recognized figures. Among this vast sea of elites, one man stood out above the rest: David. David and my father were entirely inseparable. They had navigated the brutal struggles of building their businesses together from the ground up since their undergraduate years. My father trusted him implicitly, often proudly remarking that David felt like the brother he never had. To me, David was like a quasi-uncle. He was remarkably articulate, perpetually displaying a warm, welcoming grin, and possessed an innate, almost magical ability to make anyone feel completely at ease. I frequently sought his counsel and basked in his praise of my intellect and beauty. However, in hindsight, I tragically overlooked the transient, peculiar, and lingering gazes he occasionally directed my way, subtle, chilling warnings that I completely failed to recognize. The fatal night that changed everything commenced like any other grand, celebratory occasion. We were attending an elite gala at a sprawling luxury hotel where my father was honored as the keynote speaker. The atmosphere was exhilarating, overflowing with lively chatter, elegant music, and joyous laughter. David soon arrived, greeting me with his usual flattering compliments and a warm smile. Shortly after, I excused myself from the bustling crowd to find the restroom. But navigating the seemingly endless halls of the vast hotel, I quickly became completely disoriented. As if he were a predator sensing my vulnerability, David appeared out of nowhere, offering to guide me. Trusting him completely and assuming he was merely being helpful, I followed him down the long, brightly lit corridors until we reached the ladies' room. I stepped inside, deeply relieved to have finally found it, but before I could close the heavy wooden door, David lunged in behind me. The sickening, metallic sound of the heavy latch clicking shut echoed terrifyingly in the small space. The warm, friendly uncle vanished in an instant. In his place stood a menacing, unidentifiable stranger with cold, calculating eyes and a sinister, distorted smile. My heart hammered violently against my ribs in absolute panic. "David, what are your current activities?" I asked, my voice quivering with trepidation as I desperately backed away. He completely ignored my pleas, backing me against the cold tiled wall. I was entirely ensnared in a trap I never saw coming. He leaned in closer, his voice laced with terrifying malevolence, whispering that no one could hear me over the loud party outside. I screamed and fought back with every single ounce of my strength, but the deafening music and laughter from the gala effectively drowned out my desperate cries for help. My former protector became my worst nightmare, overpowering my sheer terror and committing deeds far more horrible than I could have ever envisioned. He repeatedly thrust me back into the nightmare, turning the night into an interminable, suffocating haze of sheer agony and terror. Just when I thought my spirit would permanently break and I would not survive, the heavy bathroom door violently swung open, casting a blinding light into the suffocating darkness. My father stood there. His face turned an ashen gray as he took in the horrifying, heartbreaking scene. Seeing me shattered and quivering helplessly on the cold floor, his profound shock instantly transformed into an explosive, uncontrollable wrath. He charged at David, unleashing a barrage of fierce, lethal blows while screaming in pure agony over the ultimate, unforgivable betrayal. Security eventually had to swarm the small room to physically pull my father off the man who was once his closest confidant. I woke up to the harsh, sterile light of a hospital room, my father faithfully sitting by my side, weeping uncontrollably over his perceived failure to safeguard his only daughter. But he hadn't failed me. In the grueling days that followed, my father channeled his overwhelming grief into relentless, targeted action. He gathered evidence, worked tirelessly with the police, and hired the absolute best legal team in the city to ensure David faced the absolute maximum penalty. Despite David's pathetic, desperate attempts to shift the blame onto me, the overwhelming physical evidence was irrefutable. He was found guilty and ultimately sentenced to 15 years in prison. Seeing him led away in heavy metal handcuffs brought my very first true sense of relief. Though the deep emotional and physical scars will take extensive, painful time to fully heal, I know deep down that I am not defined by this tragedy. I am vastly stronger than the darkness I endured, and I courageously choose to share my story with the world to remind others never, ever to suffer in silence.